For more, our chief foreign editor Rob Parsons is here in studio with me. So NATO, Rob, is moving to ramp up its presence in Eastern Europe. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly they said in that statement.
Yeah, well, this obviously in response to the fact that there are close on 125,000 Russian troops, not just on the border with Ukraine, but also in Belarus as well, which puts them essentially on the border with a NATO country, Poland, and changes the whole game strategy for NATO as a consequence of that. This, I think, is forcing NATO to take the situation much more seriously than it has done up until now, and to shift a little bit away from just a diplomatic response to a military response as well. And we've seen that today from the Secretary General of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, saying that warships and aircraft are being moved in the first instance by Denmark and Spain to the Baltic Sea, but also that troops are being ready to move to the area as well. Latvia is calling for a really substantial build-up of NATO troops on its eastern flank. I don't think we're quite there yet. It's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think, but there is the possibility of French troops, for instance, being moved to Romania. This at a time of growing tension. You mentioned the Russians saying that this is information hysteria coming from the West, from NATO, and just trying to create an excuse, in other words, for beefing up its own military presence in the area. Whatever the case, there's no doubt that the tensions are growing. There is no sign that the Russians are preparing to back down. And the question that NATO is asking itself is, why are all those troops there? What is the purpose of sending so many troops with that much military backup, that much hardware? All the possibilities, all the elements required for an invasion, if you're not planning an invasion.
And we had just in the last few minutes as well, Rob, France has urged its citizens against all non-essential essential travel to Ukraine. So things do seem to be moving in terms of what's happening with Europe and with NATO. Also, the US, we're expecting an announcement perhaps from Joe Biden about troops being sent to Eastern Europe also. Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt that lots of things are happening all at once, including the fact that the Russians are about to start naval exercises just outside Irish territorial waters, which is something that has the Irish very alarmed as well. But yes, you're right, the French are considering pulling non-essential diplomatic staff out of the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. The British and the Americans doing exactly the same. EU, for the moment, as a bloc, holding fire, waiting to see how things develop. But you refer to the information coming out of the United States from a meeting of senior Pentagon officials and Joe Biden at Camp David over the weekend, in which it does seem that the United States is moving away from an emphasis purely on diplomatic response to the Russian position towards a more assertive military response as well. Joe Biden apparently suggesting that he's ready to move anywhere between 1,000 to 5,000 US troops to the East European border with Russia, and to increase that by tenfold if things start to deteriorate. This has led the Russians, in response, to make some of the harsh statements that we were talking about just now, the information hysteria, but also Alexander Grushko, the Deputy Foreign Minister, talking about Russia, the NATO demonizing Russia in order to use the language of threats and aggression. Seen from the NATO perspective, it's the other way around, but that's what the Russians are saying as well.
And we'll see, Rob, what comes out of that meeting of EU Foreign Affairs Ministers.
Yeah, which incidentally, Antony Blinken is going to address by video call from the United States to debrief them on that meeting he had last week with Sergei Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister.
OK. Our Chief Foreign Affairs Editor, Rob Parsons, thank you for that.